more money. We need to, part of our job is to make sure that we're doing right by not just the patient, but by the company. Okay, how do items get lost? On page 398, they can expire. So somebody wasn't doing FIFO, maybe. They can become contaminated. Poor storage practices, sloppy work ethic. They can become obsolete. We used to use this one, but now we use this one because that doctor left, or that doctor decided he wants to use this one, or for whatever reason, obsolete. I've seen something sitting on the shelf that was just always sitting there. And then after I was there for nearly 3 years, they actually called for one of these items. And I went through this stack of boxes until I found one that wasn't expired. I don't remember what the item was called or what it's used for, but it wasn't quite obsolete. It was darn near obsolete. Okay. Loss. It's just lost. We don't know where it is. Did somebody steal it? That's another way that something can become a loss, but we just don't know where it is. So if you have a poorly organized storage where, well, it could be in this room over here, or it could be down the hall in that little nook, but nobody really knows. And then when people go to put things away, they don't know where to put them. It leads to confusion and loss. Okay, distribution. So when we're talking about distribution, we're talking about everything, the movement of all things throughout the hospital. It could be issuing of a single item to a single patient that the nurse requested, that the nurse requisitioned. It could be moving mass amounts of things like, tissue boxes. Materials management is responsible for pretty much everything that comes into the hospital, and that includes tissue boxes. So the big picture, things moving from materials management storage areas to other locations, that's called distribution. Inventory, replenishment, and distribution systems. Okay. So have you ever heard of PAR, the PAR level? The PAR level on that is 15. Okay, so PAR is periodic automatic, not automated. Right here on page 399, it has two different words. Periodic automated is incorrect. Automatic is correct. Automated implies that there are computers involved. Automatic implies that once you reach a certain threshold, you're automatically going to perform this. So this can be done with humans. So a PAR level inventory system, let's say you're supposed to have 50 of an item, and you go and count and you have 25. You're going to order 25 so that you bring it back up to the PAR level. You don't need computers to do that. So the correct way to word this is periodic automatic replenishment. However, you can get computers involved with this, and this is automated supply replenishment. A computer can keep track of how many of an item come out of inventory and get issued, and keep track of how many get issued, and then the computer is going to know that it had 50 in inventory and one has been issued that it has 49. And then the computer can automatically generate a purchase order that needs to be then looked at by somebody in materials management before they're ordered, because computers don't do that part. They don't do the ordering part. Okay, so what's the difference between automatic replenishment and automated replenishment? Computers. You understand PAR, right? So if I have 30 and I'm supposed to have 50, I order how many?
50.
Nope. 20. Simple math. 50 minus 30 is 20. Okay. So computers can be interfaced. Automated systems are generally interfaced with the healthcare facilities materials management system for managing inventory. So it could be something that's being at the point of use. Maybe a nurse is taking something out of the supply closet and she's scanning it beep, to her patient. Beep, and the computer is automatically keeping track of that. So an interface is an area or system through which one machine can connect with another. We even have interfaces on our phone. That touchscreen, that's an interface, but we're not talking about that kind of interface. An interface with computers is where one machine or system can communicate with others. So these exist to some degree or another. And maybe in your department, you're going to have your sterilizers interfaced with the tracking system, or your biological incubators interfaced with the tracking system. These are all things that are happening now. Not every place has that kind of technology, but it's on the increase. Okay, different cart systems. An exchange cart system. Have you ever heard of a code cart? Have you ever been in a hospital and overheard somebody saying code blue, room 420?
Yes.
Okay. So a code cart is an example of an exchange cart. An exchange cart basically doubles an inventory, at least doubles. So I'll use the example of Chandler Regional. They had a pretty good exchange cart system. There was a locked room, and I think it had 30 carts in it, where only the security guard had a key to it because there's drugs on these carts. But there were also throughout the hospital in key areas exchange carts, code carts, where they needed them. So if the person in room 218 starts coding, nearby there's an exchange cart. You would hear code blue. Somebody was already had the exchange cart slash code cart in that room, and they'd already cracked the lock open, and you see security walking down the hallway with a brand new one to exchange that, because once they crack it, it has to be restocked. So a code cart is not the only example of an exchange cart, but it is the one you're definitely going to see. There are other exchange type carts, like an isolation cart. If the patient has some kind of contact precautions or tuberculosis or something, they're going to be in a room with a yellow card outside the door that's for isolation. It has N95 masks and gowns and things like that, gloves. And then there needs to be another cart available that is stocked that can be given when that cart is no longer has the supplies they need on it. Okay. So requisition, what is a requisition? Simple, it's a request. So a requisition system, this might be something that they're using at the point of use. The nurse inputs her keyboard what she needs. She does it through a requisition system. It's a request for an item from the materials management department. The materials management people get the request or the requisition, and they fill the order. They issue the item to the requesting department. And all of this is still part of the big picture distribution. The exchange cart, the requisition, the issuing, this is all part of the big picture distribution. Okay, the case cart system. The case cart system is about individual procedures. So let's say Dr. Smith has scheduled a breast biopsy for 8 o'clock, and somebody in likely materials management or sterile processing or the OR, there's like no real set way that it goes. It could be anybody. Picks this case. Very often it is somebody in sterile processing. So you'll get a pick list of items that need to be put into a case cart that is to be delivered to the user in the OR. Okay, in a case cart system, items that are needed for each specific procedure are assembled in individual carts by CS staff sometimes, and delivered to the department where the procedure will be performed. So this is a very big dynamic process. You could be in a hospital where you are picking cases all day long because tomorrow there are 80 cases scheduled. There's a lot that goes into it. We can't just say, well, I don't have that, and then just put a yellow highlight on it and leave it that way. We have to do things like look for the items, make lists of priorities. I have 3 craniotomies scheduled, and I only have, and there's only 2 craniotomy sets that are sterile right now. Therefore, I need to make sure that people who are doing instrument set assembly are aware that we're short on 1 craniotomy set. So it's a big dynamic procedure. Okay, moving on. We're running out of time, but I think we got time to get through this. Okay, case cart flow on page 402. It says the case cart is assembled. It's sent to surgery. The surgical procedure takes place. Unused, unopened sterile items are returned to storage, and then reusable items are returned to the decontamination area for processing. That's the way it's supposed to work. Sometimes that goes off without a hitch. Sometimes they accidentally send sterile items down to decontamination, and those items are now trash because they made it to the decontamination room. Okay, so they're using the same cart. The same items that, the same cart that I sent all those items up for the procedure. The same cart, they put in the bloody instrument sets at the end. They close the doors. Those are the better ones, the ones that have closing doors. And then that cart gets returned down to decontamination. Case carts do enhance infection prevention practices. They should be able to keep things sterile when they're in not public, but high traffic areas, you know, because they have either the doors that close or they have this large plastic bag-like cover over them. Okay, 2 more things, 2 more topics. STAT and sustainability. You've probably heard of STAT. STAT is short. It is not an acronym. It is a shortened version. It is a nickname for the word statum, which means immediately or at once. Stat means right now. If they call you and say, I need something stat, you're going to drop what you're doing and you're going to go and get that thing and take it to them. Because stat orders are probably, they're talking about something that is needed in a surgery right now. What's going to make you upset is when they say, I need it stat, and then you take it to them and they don't even have a patient in the room. They're just saying, well, I was afraid I wasn't going to get it in time. That's actually a bad sign. That's a bad sign. That's a sign that your department has a reputation for not providing good service. So take that seriously. Stat orders mean right now. It should not mean I'm going to need it in a half an hour and I'm just going to call it stat. Okay, sustainability. What is that? See the green bin? It says recycle medical devices. So there are things called third-party reprocessors that can take collected items that are actually single-use items, and they have a special clearance from the FDA to go ahead and get those items safe once again for patient use. So it's good because it keeps things from going into the landfill right away, give them a second life. Sustainability is about making sure that we don't run out of resources, that we're not wasting resources, and that we're not needlessly contributing to the landfill trash, polluting the earth. All right.